Hello.
Hi, Nathan. How's it going?
Good. Who's this?
I am Sophie, and I'm reaching out because you recently filled out a form about lowering or consolidating your debt. Is now a good time to chat?
Oh, right. Yeah, that was quick.
Great. I just need to ask you a few quick questions to get things started. You mentioned in the form that your debt amounts to $10,000. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that is correct.
Got it. Thanks for confirming. What kind of debt are we talking about here? Is it mostly credit cards, personal loans, medical bills, or something else?
Yeah, it's just mostly credit cards.
Thanks for sharing that. Do you happen to know what kind of interest rates you're paying on those credit cards?
Yeah, I think right now about 20%.
Oh, wow, yeah, that's definitely on the higher side. Are you currently behind on any payments, or are you managing to keep up with them?
Yeah, I've been behind a few times, honestly, but I've been trying to keep up.
I, I totally get that, Nathan, and you're definitely not alone in this. Based on what you've shared, it sounds like you could really benefit from one of our debt relief programs. Would you be open to setting up a free consultation with one of our specialists to explore your options?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome. Since it's within our operating hours, I can connect you to a specialist right now. One moment while I get that set up for you.
Okay.
It seems I wasn't able to connect you directly just now, but no worries. I can help you schedule a call with a specialist instead. What day and time works best for you in the next few days?
Okay, that's fine too. How about sometime tomorrow
Great.
morning?
Let me check what's available for tomorrow morning. All right, for tomorrow morning, we have an opening from 8 to 8:30 a.m. and another range from 9 to 11:30 a.m. Do any of these times work for you?
Yeah, how about 9:30?
Perfect. Let me lock in 9:30 a.m. for you tomorrow. One moment. You're all set for 9:30 a.m. tomorrow, Nathan. You'll get a confirmation email shortly with all the details. Be sure to add it to your calendar so you don't forget. Looking forward to helping you get that debt under control.
All right, cool. Thank you. Bye. What you have just seen is an AI voice agent that I built for a debt relief business. The objective of this voice agent is to call leads that opt in through filling out a form, maybe through a social ad campaign, and then ask the lead some qualifying questions to see if this lead is actually qualified or not. And if the lead is qualified, it will continue to check if right now is during business hours, and if it is, then the AI agent is going to attempt to transfer the call to a human expert, right? In this case, the transfer failed because I didn't pick up, even though I did receive the phone call. The AI agent remedied the situation by offering to book an appointment on Google Calendar, which you can see here. The appointment was booked at the right time that the lead, asked for, and then the system also store the information collected in the call from the lead back to the CRM, as well as the transcript of the call. And not only that, you probably noticed that the AI agents in this case was smart enough to show empathy to the users based on their answer to the questions, which is really the beauty of this kind of system. AI voice agents are going to shake up industries in 2025, and one of the first to feel that impact, financial services. Think about it. Banks, insurance providers, debt relief companies, they are handling massive volume of calls, hundreds or even thousands of calls every day. And whether it is inbound calls from customers needing help or outbound calls chasing leads, the demand is basically non-stop. And right now, these companies are hiring offshore call centers to handle these calls, but the quality of those call centers can be hit or miss. And even if the quality is good, these call centers will eventually run into issues with scaling up the operations based on the business demand. And this will be where AI voice agent comes in. Case in point, I just completed an AI voice agent project for a debt relief company that basically replaced 100% of their outbound call center after just 2 months of operations. And in this video, I'm going to show you guys exactly how you can build a system like this for your business. Ready? Let's get started. Okay, so what actually are the benefits of implementing an AI voice system like this compared to maintaining a human-powered call center? So the first and most obvious benefit is the availability, because AI voice agents can handle calls around the clock without breaks, ensuring that the business never misses a lead or inquiry, even if it's outside regular business hours, right? Which leads me to the second benefit, which relates to scalability, because AI voice agents can call multiple leads simultaneously. It's just something that human agents cannot physically do, especially during peak times and busy seasons. So not just outside of business hours, but also peak times and busy seasons as well, where AI voice agents will shine. In terms of consistency, AI voice agents can provide uniform responses, ensuring that every client interaction is professional, accurate, and aligned with the business brand, unlike humans who might have off days or inconsistencies. And unlike human staff who require onboarding and ongoing training, AI voice agents can be updated instantly with new sales techniques or qualification criteria to always help keep them up to date. And finally, the system will automatically log all of the conversations that happen between the AI and the user in a very organized way, and it will also help gather and analyze data to help the business generate valuable insights into clients and customer preferences to really inform your business strategy in a data-driven way. Let's take a look at the high-level logical flow of the solution to really understand why it works so well. So the first step of the flow would be to generate the outbound call, and this can be configured to happen whenever a new lead is generated, is added to the CRM. And in my demo, I use a simple Google Sheets just to demonstrate how it works, but in reality we can plug the system into any CRM that the business is using and just detect new leads from there. And when the call is generated, the first thing that the AI will do when the user pick up is obviously to greet them and to explain the reason for calling them, just to let them know that we are not just a random business that are cold calling them, but we're actually calling because they showed interest in the services that the business provide. And then we are going to start asking qualifying questions. In this case, in this particular project example, I have 3 qualifying questions. And the interesting thing about this flow is that the qualification will happen in specific steps, in specific criteria, and all of the criteria must be satisfied in order for the lead to be considered qualified and to book a call with them, which means that whenever we detect that this lead is not qualified based on any of the specific criteria that we set, 1, 2, or 3, we can end the call right away, which actually will help keep the duration of the call as limited as we can and save some cost that way. So as you can see here, if any of the condition is not satisfied, then the lead is not qualified, and we are just jumping straight to the end of the flow here, and no further questions will be asked of them. But if they satisfied the first condition, we are going to move on to the second condition, and then we are going to move on to the third condition to make sure that they are really qualified, they really satisfied all of the qualification criteria. And if that is the case, then we are going to offer a free consultation. Now, if they accept, then the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to see if the current time is within business hours, because for this particular project with the client that I worked with, if it's during business hours, then we actually want to transfer this hot qualified lead to a human sales agent to have a conversation with them and try to close them, right? So that is the ideal scenario. But in the cases where it's not business hours, or if we try to transfer to the human sales agent but it wasn't successful, when the human agent doesn't pick up, for example, like what we see in the demo, when as a human agent, like I have a phone next to me, right, just to demonstrate that, and I didn't pick up, so the human sales agent didn't pick up. In that case, the AI agent on the call will remedy the situation by asking the user whether they want to book an appointment, and go ahead and book the appointment for them. So that way, even if the human sales agents are not available at the moment, or if it's after hours, we can still capture and engage this lead as much as we can, as automatically as we can. First, as usual, let's take a look at the prompt, right? So the common structure that I usually use for this agent, as well as other agents that I have built and covered in the past on this channel, is this. First, we specify the role of the agent. So in this case, an experienced sales rep for ClearPath Financial Solutions, a business that connect consumers struggling with unsecured debt to trusted debt relief partners, right? So some context about the business as well. And then next, in the context section, we are going to provide two main pieces of information. First, information about the lead, and this comes directly from the CRM, where we trigger the outbound call. And again, this lead is added because they fill out a form, which means that they already provided some information about themselves to the business. In this case, I'm assuming that the lead has already provided their name, their email, their phone number, and the amount of debt that they currently have. Next, we have some information about the business as well, including their name, their address, their website, and most importantly, in this case, their operating hours. Right, so a lot of this information can actually be added to the knowledge base. For simplicity, in this demo, I'm just adding it directly into the prompt. Again, the most relevant piece of information that we're actually going to use logically in this flow is the operating hours. So here you can see that I'm actually specifying a very specific time zone based on where the business is located, as well as where their customers, their leads who can be calling in, are located. And in this case, in the specific context of this project, the business and the leads that the system is supposed to call, we always know that they are going to be in the same time zone, which is why I specified this time zone here. And the current time is very important because that's what we are going to use to determine if we are currently within operating hours or not. And if we are within operating hours, then do the transfer, live transfer. If not, then book the appointment, right? So we're going to use both of this information in order to determine that. Next, we have the task section. This is where we describe to the AI voice agent what the main objective of the call is and the specific steps of how they should carry out that objective. So ask the user how they're doing to build rapport, and then once they respond, explain why you are calling, right? And then the next step, confirming the debt amount of the user. And so this is where the first qualification step comes in, where if it is actually under $10,000, then we are going to ask them some extra questions to see if they can still be qualified. And if they are not qualified, we are going to proceed to the final step right away. Right? Whereas if they are qualified, then we are moving on to the next qualifying question, which for this business context relates to the types of debts that they have. And again, we have the conditions to help the AI determine whether the lead is qualified up to this step. If they are, then we're going to move on to the next step and do a similar thing here. In this case, we are asking for the kind of interest rates that they are currently paying on their debts. And again, all this logic will need to come from the business itself, and it really specific for each of the business that we are working with. And then if they are qualified past this point, we are going to ask them another question still related to qualification. And then after we have determined that they are actually qualified based on all the criteria that we set, then we are going to offer them a free consultation with a specialist. And if they actually agree to the free consultation, then we are going to check if the current term, which this is a dynamic variable that Retell provides to us, by the way, and we can set this using the term current term underscore and then the time zone that you want to get the current time. So for example, if your business is in New York, then you would need to change this part here to America/New York, because that's the time zone of where the business is. In this case, because this is where I'm based right now, I'm setting it as this time zone, right? But we are basically checking to see if the current time is within operating hours. And if it is, we are going to do a live transfer to a human expert. Otherwise, if it is outside of the operating hours, then we are going to book the appointment. And in a similar fashion, even if it is currently within business hours and we do the live transfer and it doesn't go through for whatever reason, then we are also going to follow these steps to help them book in an appointment instead. So instead of losing the lead when the transfer failed, we are still attempting to book them into our system so that the sales agents can follow up with them, can have a conversation with them later. And then all of the remaining of this step here, all of this logic here is related to appointment booking. So asking them for a time so we can check for availability, and then what happens if we do have availability and what happens if we don't have availability is all handled here. And as usual, I will leave this prompt as well as every other resources that I mentioned in this video in the description so that you can check it out. And then once the AI and the user have agreed upon an available time to book the appointment, is going to confirm that. And then once confirmed, so we are going to book the appointment into the calendar using, in this case, using cow.com, right? And then we let the user know that the appointment was set, and we call the store CRM function to store all of the information that we gathered from this conversation of the lead back to the CRM. And then now here I have an example conversation so that the AI knows what kind of style and tone we are going for. And then there are some conversational guidelines to make sure that the AI behaves the way that we expect it to behave, both in terms of what they say and how they say it. And then here in the function section, this is where we will define the task that we expect the AI agent to be able to carry out and how to carry that out. And these functions are all referenced throughout the prompt, throughout the instructions that I provide the AI here in the prompt. For example, check availability, book appointment here. I'm using the exact names that I defined of the functions here. That way the AI will know exactly which function to use and when. So the first function we have is checking availability. So basically this function will allow us to check for availability on a cow.com calendar that we set, and then depending on the specific time range that the user asks for. So for example, if they say sometime in the morning, is going to check for availability in the morning of the day that they ask for automatically. Or if they ask for a specific time, like 4 p.m., it can also check availability for that. So all this is taken care of automatically based on this built-in integration with cow.com in Retell, which is pretty neat. And all you would have to do here is to enter your cow.com API key as well as the event type ID. Similarly, for the booked appointment function, this is also a direct integration with cow.com. And yeah, basically this is the function where after we figure out the time with the user, we are going to book it into the calendar directly using cow.com. And again, the two pieces of information that we need to provide is the cow.com API key as well as the event type ID. I will link in the description a video where I go through this exact process of how this integration works and how you can connect it to your cow.com account in detail. I will leave that in the description, so feel free to check it out. But it's pretty simple. And then next we have the transfer call function. This is the function that we are going to use when the call happens during business hours and we want to transfer this qualified lead to a sales agent, to a human sales agent, so that they can engage with them further. And here what I would need to specify is first the phone number that we want to transfer to, and this can be a static number like what I'm having here, or a dynamic routing, meaning that we can transfer to different numbers depending on the specific conditions of the transfers. So imagine if this is an inbound voice agent and the user calls in, the customer can call in for different requests. So based on the specific request type, we can transfer them to a different agent. So if they have a billing issue, transfer to this number. If they have a product issue, refund issue, transfer to a different number instead. So we can do that dynamically in Retell. In this case, it's just a static number for me. And then we can also specify the type of transfer, whether it's a warm transfer or cold transfer. So a cold transfer means that the AI will just route the call to the human agent without saying or doing anything else, right? Whereas a warm transfer, this is where the AI agents will pass on a message, mainly to explain the context of the user on the line, so that the human agent will know what to expect and will have more information to take over the call with the user more efficiently. So for example, here in this case, I'm telling the system to summarize the lead's information, including the following information, when we transfer to the sales agent. So that way the human agent will know who they will be talking to, the debt amount, the type of loans, the interest rate, and whether they have any missed payments. And then finally here we have a small function to basically store the information that the user provided back to the CRM, and this will happen at the end of the call. So here we are specifying what kind of information should be written back to the database, and we will define in the description how exactly we want the system to extract that information in the conversation. So because you see that in the prompts, numbering the different qualification questions. Here in the function description itself, I can just specify how the AI can extract that information using the numbered step. So here, for example, the question where the AI asks about the interest rate is number 4. So I simply said user's answer in step 4. I find this to be quite a simple and effective way to help the AI extract the right information and send it to the correct function. In terms of the automations required to make the system work, we are going to have 2 automations. The first one is this one. This is the automation that will help us detect the new lead that is being added to the CRM and trigger the outbound call, as well as a few other things. So here, because for this example, my CRM is a simple Google Sheets, I simply have a module here to watch any new rows that are being added. And so in this case, when a new row is added with my information here, including my name, my phone number, my email, and the debt amount, we are going to trigger an outbound call in Retell with this information of the lead, right? And again, this information can come from a lot of different places. In my case, it came from a marketing campaign where the user saw an ad and then they fill out a form with this information here to provide to the business, right, to show that they're interested. Then the next step, we are going to use a built-in Retell AI module within Mac.com in order to make the outbound call. And yeah, this is quite convenient actually. Instead of having to use the HTTP module like what I needed to do in the past, this built-in module in Make now allow me to do that a bit more easily with this UI. So here we can specify which number. So here we can first specify the from number. This will be the number that the voice agent is assigned to in Retell. And then here we will specify the number of the lead that we want to call, and that comes straight from the CRM, as you can see here. And then this section is where we will define any dynamic variables that we want to inject into the call. So here I'm injecting the name, the email, the phone number, and the debt amount. And all that, again, as you can see here, comes directly from the Google Sheets CRM. You will also notice that these names of the variables, name, email, phone number, and debt amount, must correspond to the information that I'm specifying here in the context section, in the lead information. So name, email, phone number, debt amount. These are the dynamic variables that we expect when the call is triggered, and those information is being sent right here. So after this step, if everything is set up correctly and if the phone number of the lead is valid, then a call will be triggered. So the next thing we are going to do in this case is that we are going to set a sleep module, and in this case I'm setting it to 5 minutes to basically wait for the call to be over. And in this particular case, I know that since it's a simple lead qualification call, it usually lasts for around 2 to 3 minutes. And because of that, by the time that 5 minutes had passed, we already reached the end of the call. And what we are going to do next is that we are going to make an API call to Retell to get the call information using the call ID from the successful call that we have made in the previous step here. And calling this function here will provide us with all of the information of the call, including the status, the transcript, and basically everything else about the call. And what we can do next is that we can simply store that information back to the CRM. In this case, the only two pieces of information that I care about would be the status of the call, whether it was successful or not, and the transcript of the call, so that we can easily monitor which lead was called and the outcome of that call. So back to the CRM, we can see that in terms of the call status here, the call happened and it already ended. And then we can also see the transcript of the conversation here. So if you remember in the demo, this is exactly the call that I had with the AI. Now we can see that in the transcript directly into our CRM. And then finally, the second automation that we are going to need is one to store the user's information, the answers that they provided in the call, back to our CRM. And if you remember when we looked at the prompt, the store in CRM function is called right near the end of the call, and we also define that function here in the function section. And we already specified what information the AI should extract and send to the CRM, right? And here, if you notice in the URL, we are specifying a make.com URL. This will be the address where the system will send this information that we defined here, that we extracted from the call to. And this URL will be the same as the URL that we defined in this webhook right here. And what will happen in this automation is quite simple. We basically receive the information from the call, the user's answer from the call, and then we also have the phone number here to search for the lead in the CRM, which is exactly what we are doing in this module. We are simply searching for the lead using their phone number, and once we found the row number of that lead, we are simply going to store the information back to the right column. So here we received the type of loans, the missed payments, and the interest rate from the retail agent. We are simply storing those information here in the right column. That's all this automation does. And as usual, I will leave the templates of both the automations required for the system in the video description. So there you have it. AI voice agents are not just the future, they are already reshaping the way that financial services operate. And if you are still relying on manual calls or offshore call centers, now is the time for you to reconsider your approach, because AI voice agents offer the speed, consistency, and scale that traditional methods just cannot match. If you found the video useful, feel free to give it a like and subscribe for more AI voice agents and automation content like this one. And that's it for today's video. I will see you guys in the next one. Stay curious. Bye.